what is a Scrum Master? So we know that a Scrum Master is a role on a Scrum team with a specific set of accountabilities and responsibilities. Now, just for fun, I asked that question to AI, Gemini in particular, and I got this answer. A Scrum Master is essentially a facilitator and a coach for a developing team using the Agile Scrum methodology. Now, if you've been in my Scrum classes, you know I am pretty peculiar, pretty specific about terminology. I would have something to say about this specific sentence, but that's beyond the point here. So let's keep looking. Their primary role is to ensure the team understands and adheres to the Scrum framework, while also removing impediments and fostering collaborative environment. Now, probably this is a pretty standard definition of a Scrum Master, which has been shared for many, many years. That is the first thing that comes to mind when you think about a Scrum Master. But I think there is more to that. So I went to the source, the Scrum Guide, the latest edition, and I copied here two quotes. The first one is, the Scrum Master is accountable for establishing Scrum as defined in the Scrum Guide, which means helping everyone, the team members, but also the product owner and the rest of the organization, understand Scrum theory, understand the practice of Scrum, understand how to be effective with Scrum, and so on. The second quote is, the Scrum Master is accountable for the Scrum team's effectiveness. Now, this is actually very important and is often a point that is missed. It is effectiveness, not efficiency. So let's dig a little bit here. What is efficiency? Efficiency is about doing something in the right way to minimize the use of available resources, for example, or to minimize the cost or the time it takes. For example, if I need to drive to let's say a customer appointment, or I need to drive to a job interview, I can do that in a very efficient way, trying to skip the traffic, try to use the shortest route, try to avoid paying tolls on the highway, trying to go around 60 miles per hour constant, which is the speed at which a car uses the least amount of fuel. That's efficient. I may get there late. I may miss my appointment. I may miss my job interview. What I really need to be is effective. I have a job interview. I have a customer appointment. I need to be effective. I need to be there at the right time, maybe 15 minutes before that time. It's not about being efficient. I may use a little bit more fuel. I may pay a toll if I can take a highway and skip some traffic, for example. I may need to leave earlier or later and get some traffic. I don't know, but I need to be there 15 minutes before the appointment. Efficiency may not be the best criteria to use here. It's about being effective. What is being effective is doing the right thing. So the Scrum Master responsibility is to help the team increase their effectiveness. So often Scrum Masters focus on efficiency. Efficiency may be, let's look at how many hours have the developers put into writing code this sprint. How can we put more hours into that? Who cares about what code they write, whether the code works, whether the code is valuable, important or not? Just let's put more hours into that. Or how many points have we developed this sprint? How many points per developer have we actually developed this sprint? What is the team velocity? Why is our team velocity lower than another team's velocity? All of these are efficiency measures. There is a space where they could be useful, but in general, that by focusing on this, we are missing the point. It's not about driving efficiency, it's about driving effectiveness. Effectiveness is about guiding the Scrum team to be effective, building the right thing. One example here is, do we have a product goal? Do we have an objective that we would like to achieve in the next 3 to 6 months? Are we actually achieving that objective or not? Now the question could be, do we have a sprint goal for this sprint? Are we actually delivering 100% of that sprint goal this sprint or not? That is a measure of effectiveness. So things that the Scrum Masters can do, for example, is to actually help the Scrum team focus on identifying and then delivering a product goal or a sprint goal each sprint. But also is about applying the Scrum values. Scrum values exist to support the team in being effective at using Scrum. And the job of the Scrum Master is to make sure the team employs or adopts the Scrum values as much as possible, right, within their context. So now the Scrum Master role is actually much bigger than just facilitating Scrum events or moving Jira cards. Is way beyond that. That's much bigger. In fact, let's look at a few examples here. Let's start by asking this question. The Scrum Master may wear multiple hats. Which hat should the Scrum Master wear on the team? To answer the question, I would like to share this page here, this concept of the 4 hats of the Scrum Master, where on the 2 quadrants on the left side, you can see teaching and mentoring. What is teaching? Teaching is telling people how to do something, telling people how things work, or telling people how to solve a problem. And mentoring or advising is about telling people how to solve a problem based on my past experience. Typically, mentoring is a relationship between a more experienced person and a less experienced person, where the more experienced person shares about their experience and how they have used their experience in the past to solve problems, for example. Notice that teaching and mentoring both have a similar stance, and the stance is that of telling people what to do, how to solve a problem, and so on. On the right side, coaching and facilitating. Coaching is an activity aimed at helping somebody or guiding someone toward personal and professional improvement. But how do I help or guide someone toward personal and professional improvement if I cannot tell them? Because if I tell them, then I'm teaching or I'm mentoring. But in coaching, I cannot tell them. In fact, a coach uses powerful questions to guide a coachee toward personal and professional improvement. Now, there is an art, maybe a science behind the powerful questions, and there are coaching programs that help to learn how to do coaching properly. I will share a few later. The point here is that the coaching activity that the Scrum Master does aims at guiding people to grow personally and professionally. helps out guiding them to find the answers or the solutions to their questions or to their problems. So they also learn a process in doing that, and they become better people or better professionals. And then facilitating. Facilitating is not leading. Facilitating is not directing. Facilitating is to help or guide someone to achieve their objective or making it easier to achieve the objective. So when you're facilitating a meeting, you're facilitating a workshop, you are facilitating an event, you're not there to direct the activities or to lead the activity. You're there to make sure that the participants achieve the objective of that event or they achieve the objective of that event. For example, a facilitator typically conducts three key activities. The first one is the facilitator sets a time box. The second one is that the facilitator makes sure everybody understands the objective. What is the purpose of what we are doing here? What is the objective that we are trying to achieve by doing this workshop or this meeting? And then number three, provide the structure so that the participants can follow the structure and then achieve the objective. So basically, the participants know what to do, how to do it. That's the job of a facilitator. Once they've done it, great. You don't need to lead or direct activities. They got the structure, they know what is the objective, they have a time box, they can do it. Notice that on the right side, coaching and facilitating, both of them come from a stance of guiding people toward the solution or a goal. Now, the job of a Scrum Master is often misinterpreted, is often boxed to a specific set of responsibilities or within some limits. And companies are realizing that their teams have reached a level of maturity where the teams know what daily Scrum is. They know how to do sprint planning. They know how to use Jira or move the cards in Jira. They know how to estimate things. So they know how to use this typical Scrum practices, Agile practices. So they don't need a Scrum Master anymore, or at least that's what they think. An example of this is Capital One, a major bank in the United States that in January, February 2023 made the news because they lay off 1,100 Scrum Master and Agile delivery leads all at once. There was almost the entirety of the Scrum Master workforce. And they published this note: the Agile role in our tech organization was critical to our earlier transformation phases. But as our organization matured, the natural step is to integrate Agile delivery processes directly into our core engineering practices. Basically, what they're saying is, we have reached a level of maturity where our engineering teams, they know how to do Agile and Scrum things. They don't need anymore a guide or a coach to tell us what to do. That made the news. Other companies follow suit in this and something similar in America and also in Europe. And for a little bit of time, it was there were ripple effects, and there was a little bit of a earthquake, and people started getting scared, and they were starting asking the question: is the role of a Scrum Master finished then? I don't think so. We need to redefine the role of the Scrum Master, and in particular, move away from the facilitator of the Scrum events and the person that moves the Jira cards. Teams don't need that. They know how to do the Scrum events. They know how to move Jira cards. The Scrum Master should not be doing that, by the way, in general, because that is a secretary job, and it's not a Scrum Master job. But we should really look at the broader picture of a Scrum Master and really expand on their role, because the Scrum Master role can still be very useful in any organization, but it's up to us, Scrum Masters, to define our role to make sure that this becomes useful. So I took the liberty of looking into some recent job descriptions for open positions for Scrum Masters, and I noticed that there were a few things that went beyond just facilitating an event and moving Jira cards, for example. For example, producing, maintaining, updating, and explaining process metrics to ensure understanding how efficiently and effectively teams operate. If you're not measuring, we cannot know, right? So the Scrum Master should really look at the processes that the teams are following, looking at bottlenecks, looking at delays in the process, looking at where are the teams struggling, or what are they struggling with, and then help them become more effective in the way they do the work. Another thing is this, let's be honest, we can have the best Scrum team, meaning that we can do the Scrum activities at our best on a like tactical level. But if the product owner is not doing their job, if the product owner is not properly prioritizing or defining what is valuable for the Scrum team to build and what is not valuable, the work that the Scrum team does is going to be not valuable and possibly useless. So we can say that for any Scrum team to be successful, is absolutely essential that the product owner knows how to do their job. What if the product owner doesn't? Well, that's the job of the Scrum Master. The Scrum Master should help the product owner learn how to do their job, support the product owner, make sure that they prioritize the backlog, that they properly refine it, that they properly set a vision, they probably identify value for what they need to build or not to build, and so on. Document requirements, specification, and review, documentation provided by the teams and vendors. Now, that should really be a responsibility of the product owner. But again, if the product owner doesn't know how to do that, the Scrum Master can help, making sure the product owner follows the right process and the requirements are well defined, well understood, and so on. We also can move away from the idea that a Scrum Master only works with one Scrum team. Now, in general, that depends on the maturity level of that Scrum Master, of the team, maturity level of the team. Because if the team is pretty mature in using Scrum and Agile practices, they don't need hand-holding by the Scrum Master. They don't need somebody who moves the Jira cards for them or somebody who writes the burn down chart. They don't. They know how to do this stuff. They can pretty much self-organize, self-manage themselves. So now the Scrum Master can really coach multiple teams. So here is coach 3 to 6 teams simultaneously. Now that gives more value to the Scrum Master. It also elevates the role. Because again, we are not Jira cards movers. We are here to help the team improve their effectiveness. And we can do that across multiple teams. Provide hands-on support to all employees at times, collaborating with people across widely varying levels and roles, including product owners, other Scrum Masters, DevOps teams, and program stakeholders. So now the Scrum Master can really collaborate with very different people to help the entire organization improve. Work with stakeholders to drive improvements in Agile maturity, because the goal here is to help the company get to the level where all the teams are highly productive, highly effective. And then leverage data to measure and monitor progress. So often I see Scrum Masters that don't have any idea what the burn down chart for their team look like in the last three sprints or 5 sprints, whether it's getting better or not, whether the team is actually delivering 100% of their goal every sprint or not. So we need to measure these metrics because they can be great diagnostic tools. The Scrum Master can then use them to diagnose something that may be wrong with the team, may not be working properly with the team, and then can help the team improve.